Hello, everyone. Welcome to another, which I didn't think would happen, an ODNT spotlight for Old Dogs New Tricks, because I moved a lot of my interviews for the authors and everything over to the Fiction Silicon Valley spotlight, because that's more focused on the fiction and everything. But now I have someone who is a one-man role-playing game design team all wrapped up into a single person. His name is Chris Dean, and I have him here today, and he has created a game, a role-playing game called I Love the Core. And right now, if you're watching this before September 10th, he is right now running a Kickstarter for this as well, and you're definitely going to want to run over. I've got the link down below for the Kickstarter, so click on that and support this. But let's go ahead and switch on over to Chris. Hello, Chris. Welcome to ODNT Spotlight, where we shine the spotlight on you.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. Thank you very much for coming here. So tell us a little bit about I Love the Core.
Okay, so I Love the Core came around, I created about 10 years ago when I was at uni, and I was probably unusually a bit late into getting into films like Aliens and Predator and things. I think I've been in Starship Troopers a few years, and that started to ferment the ideas. And then I watched Aliens and Predator, and I was like, how did it take me that long to watch these things? Really obsessed with them, and then started watching lots more sort of sci-fi horror stuff. I was already quite into sci-fi, raised on like Babylon 5 and Star Trek and things.
It's the best.
But this kind of sci-fi is obviously somewhat darker and grey and more brutal, and I started to watch more and more of those kind of films. And I started to run role-playing games based on them. But the first thing I actually ran wasn't based on a film. It was actually me watching those films and playing what was Doom 3 at the time, which is quite hilarious because the new Doom was coming out. I was playing Doom 3 at the time, and I very much thought, oh, they're really trying to go really movie with this. And I really thought, wouldn't it be great if one Green Marine fighting demons on Mars, you had 6 of them. So that's how it began. I ran games of Doom. People really loved them. Then I had to go and went back to the source and did Aliens and Predator. And then the Doom movie came out, which, of course, will make many nerds yes. We watched it. Well, actually, that was kind of like your games, Chris. That was like, because it had an entire squad. It wasn't, people didn't like it because it wasn't like Doom. It wasn't one guy killing the demons, but we actually quite enjoyed it because it was kind of like the games we've been playing. And we sat outside the cinema, and I Love the Core was born. We literally just stood around chatting, me and my mates, for a few minutes. They dropped me a few ideas, and I fleshed out the skeleton of the setting. And they were like, Chris, you should do your own thing. And I was like, okay. And a week later, I ran a game called The Core, and ran another. It was very successful. Ran The Core a second time. And there's something else like, Chris, I think you should call it I Love the Core. It sounds more catchy, and we shout it all the time. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Hoo-ah!
And obviously the name itself is an obvious reference, but it is its own setting. So, no copyrights infringements. Lots of Marines in real life say I love the Core. So, but also it has certain movie connotations that you can't escape. And it makes it very easy to broach it to people. I stood at a convention with a few friends of mine, and basically people would come by like, do you like Aliens? Do you like Starship Troopers? And people were like, and one guy was like, stop punching me in the demographic and just step forward. Very good. Showed him the pretty pictures that I've got, and one person sold, and that worked with quite a lot of people. And I think that's the beauty of the game is you can mention these things to people, and they might not even seen the movie. It's also referencing stuff like Full Metal Jacket and things, not sci-fi, but you get the whole military horror side. And you just mention those things to people, and even if they've not seen the movies, they generally kind of get the idea what you're talking about. And it means that people jump into the game really easy. I've actually quite proud to say that of my many, many gaming groups, 3 of them are made up pretty much entirely of people who'd never role-played and now role-play via I Love the Core. They don't play any other games, most of them. They just like to play my game. Many of them have now said they would like to play other games. So knowing the sort of power the game has among people that I've been running with, it's been really important to me to see if I can kind of get it out there and show people like another kind of role-playing game, because I think a lot of people are introduced to the hobby via Dungeons and Dragons. Nearly all my players are people that have not wanted to play that game because they thought it was too complicated. You have all the classes and levels and so many different stats and things. My game takes a lot of that out and rinses it down to the core elements, what makes an RPG, and people really enjoy that. So yeah, that's basically The
Right, yeah, because I've seen most other role-playing games that are out there. You have all your different kind of dice. You've got your many-sided dice of all varying flavors of, 1 die 20, 4 die 20, die 12, die this, die that, die 32, and you just do one six-sided dice.
that's right. Yeah.
So we can attack our Monopoly set and steal a dice from there.
That's right, and I think part of the joy of it is again is it helps people that aren't into role play initially get into role play because they're only familiar with that dice. A lot of people, and for people that are trying to test role players, sometimes you mention it's only got one dice, and some people will be like, "I'm not sure. I do like to throw a lot of dice." There's just some role players who really like shake it and throw it out. But in my game, it's less about the throwing the dice. It's more about what you actually decide to do and how you describe to do it. The dice will factor in, but it's not the be all and end all. Like play D&D, and if you roll a 1 or a 20, that doesn't matter what you add to it. A 1 means you fail and a 20 means you hit. I mean, technically it's only for attacks, but some people do that with D&D. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't really like that. I don't like to cripple a player based on what they're rolling dice. It's like, as you say, Monopoly. It's a lot of what Monopoly is about. It's not really a board game of tactics. It's mostly just what you roll is what you get. So I love the core, I'd say, is not the Monopoly of role-playing games. It's instead more about, you have a very limited scores to answer dice. It's more about when you choose to roll the dice.
So what I'm hearing is that a lot of the role-playing games have become ROLL playing games.
Definitely.
And you're staying with the ROLE where you're playing a character in the story.
Yeah. I mean, I like to describe my game as kind of half crunch, as role players like to call it, rulesy dice rolling role-playing game, like a lot of people like, and half narrative storytelling dice role-playing game, which a lot of other role players like. But rarely do the twain meet, but in this case they do. So I love the core character only has like 8 core stats they'll use for things called abilities. And in most role-playing games, it's roll the dice and add the score. It is like that in this game, but where in most games you'd have to add loads of scores together to say your character's got strength and then they want to open a door, so maybe that's locked, so maybe they might have like athletics or might or something like that. That would be like quite a lot of role-playing games. My game is just you want to bust open the door? Powerhouse then to use might, or you could run at it, I guess, and use drop and give me 50. So as you can see, the ability names kind of imply the setting as well, which people really enjoy. They're very flexible. But the other thing is you don't have to roll the dice. It's up to you when you roll the dice. So if you want to do something dramatic, you don't always have to roll the dice. It means that the dice roll, when you roll that dice, it's really important. I think a lot of role-playing games, you just roll in, for everything, and it takes out of it. It's kind of sitting there. You're just looking at numbers a lot. Meanwhile, my game, I ran this at a con a few months ago, and in fact, it was played by Martin Page, who's another Amazon author. I believe he publishes under a slightly different name, but he played the game. He was 3 hours in, and he was like, "Wow, this is my first dice roll." He'd done a lot of stuff, bear in mind, but he was playing a military police lieutenant. He had a very high sentry duty and a very high brains, which meant he could use those without rolling and get pretty good results. So you can use abilities in 2 different ways: an active ability, which is roll the dice, and a passive ability, which is just take a static score and add it to your ability score. The static scores are based on what scene you're in. So you're either in a narrative scene, which is, for example, in Aliens, when they go into the base and they sweep through the base for the first time and they hear skittering around in the lab, but they haven't got anything to shoot at yet. That would be like a narrative scene in Isle of the Core. Meanwhile, when the aliens come down, swoop up the Marines and disappear into the ceilings, well, that's the beginning of an action scene. And then obviously the Marines don't all die instantly. Are clearly the player characters in that situation. Paul Hudson. Paul Hudson's probably dropped and give me to get away from
They're
that.
moving all over the place. They're moving all over. Game over, man.
That's it. And people do like to reference that film and other films in similar all the time, and that's fine. But yeah, I've actually built the game rules to kind of reflect the way those scenes build. So most of our I Love the Core game is the narrative scene, and in the narrative scene, a passive ability is 3 plus your score. Now scores go between 1 to 4. So if you've got a score of 4, like this detective I've spoken of, he could sweep around and use a total of 7 without rolling. The maximum target number is a 10, so a 7 will do quite a lot of things. Good. So this player in the example I made was quite confident for 2 or 3 hours, and he didn't roll the dice until it came to shooting guns because he was all right at that, but wasn't quite as great. It was like, well, yeah, I definitely need to make sure I shoot these guys in the head. So it meant, yeah, you can do quite a lot of game without dice rolls, and if there are dice rolls, that's because players either are obsessed with the idea. Sometimes it takes a while to go, did you need to roll that? And sometimes they'll be like, no, actually, I could have got higher with the passive. So it's about the people at first kind of just want to roll dice, and then they get into it, and then they actually quite enjoy the idea, or they get to choose. Because I think in most role-playing games, the GM is telling you. I'm the kind of role player where I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I am sat there. I played an online game up till recently, and the GM is just used to me being okay, right, I'm looking for these clues. That's tracking, I guess. Right, survival, I've got the track skill, there's my total. That's what I do as a role player. So there's nothing that says you can't do that, but I think some GMs are not always sure about that. They're used to players that want to be told what to do. So in this case, players will describe what they're doing, and the GM can, of course, suggest, oh, you might need this ability. But if it comes to roll of the die, it's less common, and I think more exciting and more vital, because whether you get a 1 or a 6 can be crunch time for some characters. A character with a very high score might be like, oh, if I roll a 1, I won't do too badly. Meanwhile, some characters are like, I'm built to be a big, slow, heavy weapons expert. I am not built to run and jump across massive gaps, but I'm being chased by a creature with my minigun, and all the bullets bounce off. So I guess that means I'm rolling, dropping give me 50, which I have 0. If you have 0 of an ability, rolling is all you can do. That's when you need to roll.
That's where you need some luck.
Yeah. So it means an active ability usually represents luck or something that you're like, I've got 4. I want to make this massively good. So it's usually luck or wanting to kick as much ass and look as impressive as possible. And that's the way it works. And I think that's what makes it fundamentally different to other games, is that. Also, when you're playing games like, again, I'll use D&D just because it's a common example, and bear in mind I've played a lot of D&D and I love D&D.
We're not hating on D&D here.
I hate on D&D. I just like to do things a little different, though, which is fun because this was the only game I played for quite a while. But in D&D, one of the things that does get me a little bit is there's just kind of, it's very much down to the GM when you roll, which is fine. But some GMs really want you to do it all the time. And they're like, oh, well, I just successfully did this thing 5 minutes ago. Why am I rolling again? So in I Love the Core, in a narrative scene, if you have a total of drop and give me 50 at 5, you could continue to use this. So if you're like someone who was like, oh, Chris, I'll use my passive drop and give me 50 to run across that ice, that's fine. You can do that. That's perfectly. And if you then ran across the ice and counted the wall to climb up, you could then choose, is 5 enough for an icy wall? I mean, it was good enough for running across a patch of ice. Now, it may be the GM has gone, oh, you've had several success holes to run across the patch of ice, so the player knows, so I can climb up that ice wall perfectly fine. I did the ice easy. But if the GM's like, you only had 1 success level to run across the ice, you ran, you slipped, you skidded, you hit the wall, then you're like, I need higher. Now, where this comes in is a narrative scene splits into 3 beats. So in a beat, you get an active ability and a passive ability. So that means each player only has 6 totals within a scene. A scene could be 5 minutes, a scene could be a day, could be several days of montaging. That is possible. You are Marines, so expect to have the GM do a scene at some point where you're having a boot camp. And maybe it could be a boot camp training scene, or it could be several days of being ran through mud and ice and whatever. So these 3 totals that you have can be used for a multitude of things. And it's when you get to a point where you think, those totals aren't high enough, or I need different abilities, because you've got 8 abilities. We can only use 2. So it means you might sweep through a base with drop and give me 50. Maybe using drop and give me 50 to do it at speed, because and then maybe sentry duty to look for things. You might then find a locked security door, and then go, okay, I need to get the security door. Say this is a scout, and they've left the rest of the squad behind. You've got two choices: wait for the rest of the squad to get to the door, and leave somebody else to get through it, or try and find a way through yourself. Say this Marine, with their high sentry duty, has heard something is following with them. At which point they're like, so I have to find the door, I'm going my way through, I'm being followed. However, if the Marine was using, say, wasn't using sentry duty, or didn't get high enough and they didn't hear, they might stand and wait for the squad. Now, the GM at this point can have decisions of what happens in different beats. So they might be like, oh, okay, if nobody spots the creature in beat 1, it's dropping down from the ceiling, at which point you would go into an action scene. Or the GM could decide, oh, it won't be until the end of the scene. So this leaves the GM and the players lots of choices to control the story of the game, depending how hard the GM wants to make it. I usually go for horrible things happen at the end of the scene. But you can always, and then have a big action scene at the end of the narrative scene, depending how things go. Or maybe they escape the action. This then rewards the players, because you can go, aha, right, player 1 decided to blow open the lock when he got to the door. So he gets to beat 2, uses his collateral damage, rolls really hard, go, right, I blasted a hole through the door, sticks his hand through, pulls the door open. By the time the rest of the squad get through, they've gone through the door. At this point, the creature drops from the ceiling at the end of the scene. Now, players are on the other side of the door, but they've just blown through the lock. So all they can do is hold it back. Alternatively, the scout could have waited for the rest of the squad. The GM's decided the thing doesn't drop till the end of the scene. So somebody comes along with a compad and hacks into the door. Get through the door, lock it on the other side, thing drops down, then they just hear against the door. As you can see, I'm all about the sound effects when it comes to role-playing games.
I'm really good at those.
Yeah. So that's an example of how a GM and players can sort of frame the scene. So if players want to be really gung-ho, they can be, and it'll probably be a very high-action Aliens-style game. If they want to be very slow and careful and think their way through everything, they'll probably become more Alien. As everybody knows, there is a distinct kind of difference between two, and again, I just use that as an example.
Right.
Many ways you can do it. If you want to do a highly non-combat psychological horror that's pretty much Event Horizon, that's also fine. You can do the Thing style, which one of you is the monster? There's lots of options, and I have had that in a game. I had one player, he played 2 games as a shape-shifting alien, and it was only until the end of game 2 that the players realised. Yeah, that's...
And so you mentioned, you talk about scenes, beats, action scene, and a narrative scene. This sounds very much like a script to a movie. Yeah,
that is what many people have said playing it, and that is how it is designed to be. Like, if you ran like a one-shot story, and that's how the game refers to them as well. You have scenes, and inside scenes are beats, and then a story is made out of scenes. So one single game could be a story, or a story could spread across the entire game. So you could do a story that is essentially represented as a film. So if you wanted to go the whole hog, obviously let the players know at the start, but this will be like a movie, therefore many of you are not going to come through at the end. Or if you want to do something that's more conducive to role play that people enjoy when they want to hang on to their character, you can also do a campaign, and you can do, again, because it's described with scenes and everything, usually I end up doing them like TV series. But GMs don't have to do that, but I like to encourage that. It's the way I like to run any role-playing game, even if I'm running D&D. I've run a D&D campaign that was described as a comic book, and the players didn't get the idea at first. But by game 3, I had players wrestling to get on the front cover. And that was just me describing, this week's front cover is this person. So in this game in particular, it works for it to work like a movie or a TV series. So that's how the rules are specifically written. Again, a GM doesn't have to describe camera shots and, end credits and things like that like I do. But I'm hoping they'll feel encouraged to do so, because it's there for you. It's written into the rules. It even says for using abilities, only required for dramatic actions. So there shouldn't be GMs requiring totals for everything, because, explicitly as I can mention in the rules that it's only for dramatic stuff. And I like to think that I love the core as a game that if you do die, it will always be memorable. It will either be quick and oh god, or it'll be heroic and brave and whatever. I've never found an I Love the Core death that people were disappointed by. I found deaths with no, because you can't live up to me, no. But that just says that they're into the game. And people will try and do everything they can to find a way around it. And there are some ways that if somebody is dead, there are methods you can use to get around it. So there are specific stats put into the game, especially for players that maybe are a little cleaner characters than other players are. This is also where glory points come into the game. So many role-playing games use points that you can earn in game and use them for dramatic flavor. So I Love the Core has them as well. No originality claim there. That's what many games do. It works quite well. So we have glory points. So do things that are impressive and very in character, and you will get yourself glory points. You can then use these in the game to keep yourself going, and you can therefore avoid horrible fates. If you've got glory points, they do help. There are some things where a glory point won't quite save you, but they can make your death all the better. Like, you can't go, no, I'm sorry, I said you're dead already, you've got no stats to get around it. It's like, I've had someone go, use my glory point, since I'm in 0G, to toss myself forward, and then as I die, set all my grenades off. I'm like, yes, you can do that.
Because that's a movie right there.
That is a movie right there. And players also have defining traits and weaknesses, which help encourage them to role play in a certain risk-taking way. I mean, so it means that if a character's got death-defying as a defining trait, they would get a +1 bonus to do anything that may kill them. If they then survive, they might get themselves a glory point. However, this doesn't mean that you're forced to go towards death. If you want to be a coward, that's fine. Take looking after number 1 as your defining trait. You get +1 bonuses to follow that defining trait. And again, if you do something impressively cowardly, like slamming the chute behind you just as one of the other Marines is coming, just because they're being pursued right by an alien behind them, will not only get a bonus, but will also get a glory point. I'm just going to close my bedroom door because I realize my housemates come back.
Okay.
There we are. Sorry, I meant to do that at the start.
All right. The benefits of live.
So yeah, there's lots in there to try and make things feel like a movie or a TV series as much as is possible, because that's just the way I like to role play. And it isn't the way everyone likes to role play, and that's fine. But for people who do like that kind of play, this could be the game for them.
This sounds like it's definitely the game for me.
Excellent.
I love this concept. And so we've talked a lot about the creative aspect of I Love the Core, but let's look at the business side of it.
Okay.
You've decided to eschew finding a traditional games publisher for this and go it independent.
That's right. I mean, there are a few reasons for that. I mean, I think I'd kind of decided to do it myself long before there were other options. I did go to like a convention a few months ago where there was a big publisher panel, and at this point I'd already decided I was going alone. But they kind of justified my thoughts because they made it very clear where with my style of game, and bear in mind they opened the panel and we said, okay, does anybody have any questions? I don't think anybody was ready except for me. I was clearly the person who was not only thinking about publishing a game, was like, no, I'm already on it. I need this stuff. So I sat there with my notebook, and we had it's just about me and the panel and a few other people chipping in from the audience in response to my questions for about half an hour. And in that half an hour, I very much felt like my approach was justified because they made it very clear that each role-playing company has their own very set ways of building games. And I think the way that my game is built and my books are built, if I was to take it to a publisher, they would immediately chop and change things around. Many publishers build their games around specific styles, and a lot of publishers will go, for example, that our games are all about throwing in loads of dice. There are many publishers who immediately probably wouldn't be interested because I wouldn't fit their style. Maybe some publishers would like the game, but again, they won't want to change the book format. This way means I get to do the game that I want to do, and that's also important because it's the game that I know that my fans want. And I have, like I say, started this game as it was literally just roll the dice and I'll probably make up what happens. Is how the game started. It was still 1d6. There were about 15 pages of character gen stats. And those remain till this day. Some of them been renamed and repurposed. But pretty much what was there has continued, but into much more of a fleshed out game. But because of its very early origins, I've been very careful in building the game to make sure that people that used to love it would still love it now. And I haven't had all of the original players play it again since I've been trying to actually publish it and added lots to it. But those that have felt it really still captures that. And I feel if I took it to a games company, they would probably change what makes I Love the Core.
They would kill its spirit.
I think it would, and that's no insult to any game companies at all. I mean, I've even got 2 game companies that back me. So and I've spoken to writers and game designers who said they think that what I'm doing sounds like a very good thing, and that sounds like the kind of role play that they would enjoy. And so it's not putting up my nose at any other role playing games or companies or anything like that. I just feel like right now I can do the game I want to do best if I do it myself. And it also means that once all the prep was done, I just need to launch a Kickstarter and off I go. Drive Through RPG will do all the publishing and printing, so they're just there. And
they'll handle the distribution for you.
Indeed. And that was being very important. I mean, a lot of people have wanted things I haven't been able to do because I'm not doing the distribution myself. So a lot of people want dice and dog tags and miniatures, and I just can't provide those things. So there are disadvantages to doing it myself, but there are also advantages. Mainly, it means that I can save a lot of money because I am the writer. I am the editor. I do have friends that have done editing for me, and they've chosen to do it for free. I have offered to raise some extra money to give it to them, but they don't want it. They just want to see the book made. And that is how much people care about this. I have had people who've done loads of editing, layout, and logo design work, and they've all given money to the project. I feel like I should be giving them money. Yeah, so that's generally the way it works. I mean, I'm not entirely a one-man game too. There's some things I can't do entirely myself, but as much as I can, I have done. It's basically me, the publishing side will be done by Drive Through RPG because they are veterans in doing this. They have helped produce loads of different Kickstarters, and they have probably, I don't know, millions of role-playing games on their website. So they are the best choice. And you can just go on that site. Anybody can go on it and go on as a publisher and get that done. So that seemed to be the logical choice. It means that, like I say, I can't do some of the extras for people that they may like. But I feel, as one person, if I go too much outside, I'm producing books, then it just becomes unwieldy to do as a project. So it's basically just me, and all that I'm raising money for is to pay the artists. So I've got a bunch of artists, and so one is a friend, one is the sister of a friend, and the other 2 are professional artists that I found online. But I'm paying all of them, and I do have some other friends who have offered that if I need it, they'll throw money at me, they'll throw art at me, and if they do, I obviously have a sort of bucket of cash that I'm collecting that I can go, give to whoever I need to give it to get the art done in time. So that's basically the business side of the project.
So you're running a Kickstarter campaign right now.
That is right, yes.
And because right now it is August 17th, and you have only been going for about 5-6 days. You got 24 days to go, and you have hit your initial pledge number. Yeah,
I hit the initial pledge number yesterday. So I set it as low as I could. Like, I wanted to obviously have some art for the book. But there's not as much art currently as there would be in the standard role-playing game. However, the graphic design and layout design that I've seen so far has been good enough that I'm confident that will still look good as a book. But now the aim is to try and get more art. So I've got stretch goals in place to get more art for the book, and then also and get colour art. But I have gotten the Kickstarter page, the black and white art that I've paid for so far as promotion, and that black and white art is phenomenal. I've shown it to people and I've gone, wow, that looks much better than, because people hear black and white art and they expect line art, which, to be fair, would have been fine with. But no, I paid some artists for some black and white art, and they produced some of the most phenomenally detailed pieces. And I've now got a new artist on board who's much fresher and new, and then now, but she now feels, oh, I need to put loads of detail in. And I'm like, well, don't compare yourself. It's fine to have different art styles in the book, and I've made sure that that'll be the case. So I've got 4 artists at the moment, and I'm fully aware that if I do get a goals for more art, I do already have some contacts, and I can hopefully contact other artists if I need them. But I've already got a three definite definitive artists, and I've got a fourth currently that I'm sort of looking through some sketches and getting her to do a finished piece. I'm thinking that she'll probably be on board as well. So it's quite fun for me to be able to have one artist who's very experienced in the role-play industry, and he's been really helpful in helping me learn how to be an art director, because on top of all the other jobs I have to do that.
Let's tack that one on.
I literally learned how to be an art director in 2 months. That was it. I'm not going to sound the best. I'm sure there's probably actual paid art directors now. We'll probably end the criticism, but it seems to be doing quite well. I mean, again, it can be seen by the art and the Kickstarter page. Those were all pieces of art based on briefs given to me by artists. And yeah, Scott Neal, who is the RPG artist I've been working with, has been fantastic in helping frame those. Then I have Debbie Jackson, who does professional sci-fi and fantasy sort of card commissions. So she'll do like Star Trek, Game of Thrones, those kind of thing. Prints them on characters. She produces loads and loads and has to get those off the websites to send out very quickly. She does really, really complex character work. She's kind of new to doing this side of sort of professional work. But at the same time, she's much more experienced than I am with art presentation and things. So she's been really useful, and she's helped me do all the Kickstarter page footers and things like that, and help make it look more artistic. Then I've got Daniel Tyker, who I've only got to do one piece of art so far, but he does sci-fi novel. So again, he's not necessarily experienced in the role-play game area, but he knows how to do very eye-catching sci-fi pieces. And I'll say he did the picture that you've used as the Kickstarter tag, in fact, and you just managed to capture. I love the call dark lift shaft, 3 Marines, something in the distance, and yeah. So hopefully I'll be getting some more pieces from him as well. He seems quite excited about the Kickstarter right now. I got an email from him earlier, so I've got 3 sort of professionals with different parts of professional artistry, which is really good to combine together. And then also I've got somebody else who I'm currently looking into, who is very, very fresh and new to the whole professional art and wants to get into it. And as somebody who's fresh and new to the publishing world, I'm all up for encouraging that. So it's a nice varied team that I'm working with, and I also have a bunch of volunteers that have done all the help me with all the layout and editing and things. The list of people I've had pro help out to me is ridiculous. I had a guy who made the theme tune for the videos, and I'd not met him when he made the video. It was just my friend Dan told him about the game, and so this is Niall Prince. He then got back emailed, via Dan first, get him to listen to this. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. Emailed him, and he went, oh, that's not good enough. I'll do you better. Which I now have. So yeah, this is the kind of fanaticism the game already inspires. So I've done really well, to be fair, off of generous friends and generous friends of friends. Now my aim is to try and get further than that. And to be fair, I still have people that I know who are going to back, who have told me. I've not done it yet, Chris, but I will. So I know there's more in the friendship bubble, but I would very much like to see if I can not burst it, but expand the bubble. So I've been working on, trying various things to encourage more people. I've been having chat room chats with people and things recently in the last 2 days, which has gotten me quite a few extra backers. That seems to be where most of the new backers have come from so far. It's just been chatting to people in a chat room on hashtag RPG.net. They're great. I love them already. I've only been and they've already supplied me great advice, gotten me extra people to back, and had loads of people asking questions about it. So yeah, I'm still very new to a lot of this, but I seem to learn quickly.
You've caught on quickly, and you're moving fast.
Promotion is definitely the hardest thing, but I think I seem to be getting there, which is it's great for you to have me as well. So hopefully people will enjoy hearing about the game in more detail for those that want it.
Definitely. And I've got all the links down below. So if you're watching this embedded in another website, just click the little button down there that says watch on YouTube. And then you can see the description below where I have got the Kickstarter link. Definitely, even though he has hit his first goal, there are lots of stretch goals that you definitely want to help him achieve to make the game even that much better with a lot more artwork and a lot more production value. As well as I have the website for I Love the Core, the Facebook, Twitter, a blog, and a YouTube channel so that you can interact a lot more and find out a lot more about I Love the Core.
Thank you. But yeah, it's very important if I can try and hit some of those stretch goals. I mean, if I don't, to be fair, it's my dream to go, I can make books now. But for all the people that back me already, it'll be so much better for them to have a more professional book. My role-playing games are generally rammed with art. So currently I've got enough in there, but I would like money to be able to do more. And again, the black and white art does look phenomenal, but I think there's some people who probably will be more likely to go for it if it is color. But everyone who's kind of had those feelings and has seen black and white art has been really impressed. But yeah, I know there are some people who kind of think, oh, if it's not color, I don't want it. So, I think for the backers right now, it'll be, I'll be quite happy to have more art. But if it comes to being able to sell it down the line, it will be great to have the color. But there's a very high stretch, and not really, wasn't really expecting to get that far. But I've gotten past minimum funding so much faster than I expected. It was ridiculous. I got £1,000 in an hour after launching, which was ridiculous. And it steamed for 24 hours and then slowed down a bit, and then seems to have picked up again the last 2 days. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. Either way, if I can add more art into the book, then I'll be quite happy.
I just brought in some artwork here.
So that's what I was talking about. So this is Daniel Tyker, who's, like I say, this is the only piece he's done for me so far. But I got an email from him earlier, and he seems definitely ready to do more. It just really, he's given me everything I asked for in that image. It's just fantastic. The idea of this is it's kind of a narrative scene that may become an action scene with whatever that little tiny thing is in the background. So you just partially lit up. And this is one of those pieces where color would not add to it. Like if I do get, I've made it clear that some pieces will remain black and white because this is a sci-fi action horror game. And again, I think this shows that if there isn't color, it won't matter. I don't think it will damage the book.
I think some of the mood would be lost if it was in color.
Yeah, but if I can get more of this stuff, that will be great. Obviously, there will be plenty. I've got the budget now that I can pay each of the artists to do some art pieces, but I've got 3 books to cover, so it is quite a lot of money to raise the standard amount of art for those books. So at the moment, it's about 1 image every 8 pages roughly. That does change depending on the image size. But yeah, it would be great to have more than that. But obviously, doing 3 books in one whack, it's quite a lot of work to do. So yeah, hopefully, can get money from more artists. And that's when I'll probably start sending out the feelers to get more people as well. So if there are any people who are artists and are listening and are interested, if I do hit that stretch goal, I will, probably be seeing if I can get some more people just to make sure I get it all done in time. But at the moment, with the current amount of art, it's going to be doable either way. So yeah,
excellent.
The business side of things, I think.
All right. Well, I have hit all of the points that I had. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wind down the interview?
No, I think that pretty much sums up the general things I would like to say. There's more nitty gritty that I'm sure individuals probably get to, and hopefully will contact me to ask about. I think as a more detailed general overlook than what I've been able to give on the Kickstarter page. I think that does very well. Thank you very much for having me. It's
I'm glad I was able to do another ODNT spotlight.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm glad to be give you the chance to get to do that again.
Yes, exactly. So go ahead. So don't hang up just yet. I'm going to go ahead and switch over and close out the interview, and then I'll be back and we'll chat for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
But thanks again, Chris, for coming on the show. It was glad to have you here.
My pleasure.
All right, so there we are. I love the core, and right now, Chris is still running the Kickstarter. There are still 24 days. Right now, it's August 17th, so up until September 10th, Saturday, September 10th, you still have the ability to go in and add to the Kickstarter and help him reach his stretch goals, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, with 24 days left and already hitting his initial goal. That is amazingly awesome, and I think it's because he created the kind of game I'm looking for, where I'm not rolling lots of dice and I'm not having to, and it's not just all random and just dice, 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 dice. It really is becoming the character and playing it, because he wrote it as if it was scenes in a movie, and he's got the beats, and so for those of us who write novels or even write screenplays, it's very familiar territory to say, okay, this is it. And I really like the concept where, rather than saying, hey, let's do this movie, it's more of an ongoing series where you've got each episode, and that episodic thing, that just, oh wow, that sounds amazing, awesome. So this is a game that I'm definitely going to be looking into and getting when it comes out. Drive Through RPG, I think, is the main website that it will be available at, so keep your eyes on that, but also check out the Kickstarter page, back and support this one. I love the corpse. I love this game. All right, so hey, thanks very much once again, Steve DeWinter for ODNT Spotlight, and I hope to have more interviews as well for both this one and for the Fiction Silicon Valley Spotlight that I also do that focuses now on authors. All right, so thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.